always has to be a shot at somebody.
I know.
They're never clean.
They have to run. That's the only shot they have.
They do it for 82 games. We're about to find out.
He already has shown what he's capable of.
Did surprise me. I thought we were going to hang in there.
This makes me think that we do need to be humble.
I actually think you're the only one who deserved that beat.
Ugh.
Speaking of deserved that,
Speaking of beating,
Kyle Draper deserved that beating, Sherrod.
absolutely. It was just like playing basketball with Kyle. I had flashbacks just looking at the score. Celtics up by 10. Celtics up by 15. Celtics up by 20. This was bad basketball, John. Bad basketball.
It's bad. I mean, a non-Jaylen Brown game. So you get to see a Baylor Scheierman start, and I'm sure Noah's going to glow about that coming up later. And he was good, man. Baylor hits his threes. I like it. He's doing all the other stuff.
Yeah.
He's got to be he's a consistent knockdown guy. That's a rotation player. That's a guy you can use.
That's what they wanted from him. That's what they've been waiting for him to do that. That's literally one of the biggest reasons why he was drafted.
Yeah, love to see it. We'll talk about, of course, Neemias Queta with the team that dumped him. It's like a little David Ortiz vibes. Like, you don't want me, huh? Like with the Minnesota, just cast him off. Like, this guy can play. I like how they set up first two plays for him, couple of lobs getting in there for Neemi. That felt like it was a little bit of why don't you give it back to your old to your old team there? I like that. I feel I'm complete because we got Chris Boucher minutes for the first time since November. I know. I friggin' love that. He just comes in, just walks up to the 3-point line. First time he touches it, YOLO, boop, and air ball. But that was okay. And again, yes, a nice non-Jaylen win for the Boston Celtics tonight. Very nice.
Yeah, it's a twofer. Yeah, whenever that happens, it's a twofer. You get the win. Your best player gets the night off. Everyone is happy, joy.
Yeah. This is a tough. This was a tough game. This is going to be a tough show. I'm going to tell you right now. This was a horrific team, and again, you have no Domantas Sabonis as well. But we'll run through whatever we like from here. And again, Payton Pritchard was doing Payton Pritchard things, especially in that first quarter where he was all over the place. So that was a lot of fun to watch. We'll hear from Joe Mazzula. We'll get Bobby Manning's take. We'll get Noah on a little bit later in the show as well. And that's it. And we'll try to break it down. And this is my last show before I leave for San Francisco. I'm taking the boys with me. I'm taking Amit. I'm taking Rich. I know. I'm taking Taylor. Taking Mike.
Damn.
And we're hanging out.
Radio Row is cool though. It's really, really, really cool. I think maybe the best part about Super Bowl, the lead up to it, because the personalities that you come across, the stories that you get to tell, you're not going to get a format where you can literally have Hall of Famers just walking in front of you and just ask them, hey, you want to sit down and talk for a minute? Absolutely.
That's what I like. That's what I like about the setup. So that'll be a lot of fun going out there. And again, kid in the candy store sort of stuff. Let's get to Joe Mazzula. We'll talk about the game after.
Questions? Joe, Neemi back with, the illness may be gone at this point. How much does his ability to come in, screen, roll, do all that stuff help the offense kind of get past some of the things that have been bothering over the past few days?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player. So, I mean, his ability to, I would say, both ends of the floor. Defensively, his ability to protect the rim, our ability to cross match when he's out there. Offensively, like you said, his screening versus different coverages, his offensive rebounding. I mean, he's grown and developed into a very important player for us, and you can see a difference when we have him.
And that one shot that he took in the first quarter, seems like he came out afterwards. You guys had a conversation about that. What was it about that shot that maybe you didn't?
It wasn't about the shot. It's just as he continues to grow and understand. I mean, again, missed layups that led to a layup at the other end. And so it's just as he continues to understand the ebbs and flows of a game and understand how to manage the game from his position, those things are really important. And so it was just, making sure he continues to grow and understand that.
And then Baylor, getting the start. obviously shooting well, but then, he makes a couple of good defensive plays. He's really hustling out there, all the other little things that he was doing. I mean, what does that do for you?
I mean, he's kind of, he's developed into a utility guy for us defensively where he can defend different matchups. And like you said, he's made some plays. He draws some legal screens for us, but he can make defensive plays. But he knows how to play versus cross matches at the other end, and he's been making some shots and he offensive rebounds. So, I'm pleased with where he's grown defensively for us.
Joe, it feels like Payton and Neemias in particular have developed a really good chemistry in the pick and roll. What's the work we see behind the scenes of those two sort of like feeling it out, understanding the time? Like, what goes into that for those two guys?
I mean, just constant coverage recognition and, the right screen, the right type of roll, the right pass, the right pace that you play with. Just, both guys take a ton of pride in their reads and their ability to make 2-on-1 for themselves or for others.
You always talk about like the 10 to 15 plays or however many throughout a game. Obviously, you guys got the win, but the second half, it felt like, maybe there were a few plays that you weren't as happy with. Was there something about the second half that you think changed in terms of your guys' offensive production? Or
they adjusted. They went double big and switched a lot more. And so they were playing a completely different defense in the second half than they were in the first. And so we have to be quick to recognize that and quick to be able to execute. And so I thought we just weren't as quick in that as the adjustment was made. And that's just kind of where we have to grow as a team is in the game when teams, and I thought it was smart by them. And so when teams are in those situations, and we have to be able to see it quick and adjust and then execute.
What goes into developing that like quick real-time adjustment?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to recognize it. You got to know why we're running what we're running. If they start cross-matching, it's a different type of screen. If you're cross-matched, if you're not cross-matched, the matchup may be different after a make as opposed to a free throw or a dead ball. And so can you quickly get to that and know that? So just stuff that we got to continue to get better at.
So how important is it to play well when Jalen is off the floor? Like he got the night off, and it was a challenge. Obviously, they're a talented team.
Yeah, they are.
Although
no question.
They don't win a lot, but how important was it?
Gary,
I mean, it's good. I mean, I know it's important he gets the rest that he needs, and it's important that we continue to develop as a team. And multiple things come out of that. I always like when some of those guys sit because they get to see the game from a different perspective, and then you can kind of communicate as to like, hey, what do you see? Where are we at here? And then it builds, affirmation in the guys that we have, and regardless of who's in, who's out, the expectation is to win. And I think that's something that we've been really good at over the few years here, and just have to keep getting better at it.
Westbrook seemed to have an issue with Boucher's buzzer three. Like, what's your take on that? Did you see anything?
I didn't see it. I just walked away. I mean, what are you going to do?
I didn't see. Wasn't me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, Joe, just wanted to follow up something you said pregame about Tatum's injury and his comments on the podcast he was on. You talked about the most important thing about him being healthy, but he talked about the identity and like the basketball X's and O's. From your perspective, what's the process of that reintegration on the basketball floor specifically?
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing is getting through the strength and conditioning and the physical therapy piece and continue to grow at that. And as that continues to develop, you see how that looks after that. But the most important thing is attacking that every day and getting better at it.
Joe, you mentioned Baylor's defensive versatility. It's not something that he did a ton of last year, guarding all different players. When did you realize on this year's roster that that's a role that he could play for you guys? Is it something that you guys knew from the moment he was drafted, or did he show signs kind of this season that's like this is the role that he can?
Yeah, I mean, I think just kind of this year called for it because, we're playing 10, 11 guys, and you initially may be in positions that you're not normally in, and obviously throughout the year you're playing a bunch of different, when you're playing so many different lineups and you don't have patterns, there's just situations that you're going to be in. And I think he's over the course of time has had good possessions, whether it's on the pick and roll ball handler, whether it's on the pick and roll screener, whether it's on the other team's best player, because of the situations that we put them in throughout the year, he's just kind of developed those reps and has gotten really good at it. And then it's kind of like, become something that he takes pride in.
And there's obviously a bunch of young guys that have different defensive strengths, Ugo, Jordan, Baylor. Like, how often do you guys say, okay, Ugo does this really well, like go show Baylor that? Like, I know that's probably oversimplifying it, but is that a thing at all?
Well, some of them work out together, I think.
Yeah.
So you see that, but it's cool that, you mentioned those three guys' names. I mean, those three guys are at the top of like, they have to be able to defend the best player every single night. And, tonight, actually, I thought Jordan kind of took ownership of that. We gave up some tendency stuff where it was, obviously halftime we were winning, but, Levine got 3 left shots to his left hand, and we fouled him on a jump shot twice, and he was a little comfortable there. And the ownership from, Jordan, Ugo, and Baylor to be better at that is kind of the growth of those guys as defenders. And I mean, that's who we need them to be.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
There it is, Joe Mazzula talking about tonight's
That
win.
talented team from Sacramento.
They're pretty talented. They are pretty talented. So what's Drapes doing out there? Is he still calling the games?
That's last I checked, he was. I didn't check in with him this game. I'm not sure what the hell he's doing with this team now, because it's just a daily dumpster fire. They're so bad. And it's just gosh, the team is bad.
Yeah, trade them all. Anyway, again, good non-Jalen win tonight. And again, it's good to see the guys step into their roles. I know people look at the box score and be like, well, Derrick White didn't score. I thought Derrick White had an awesome game. But let's focus on the guy who, took the scoring load, Payton Pritchard. I think he loves these types of games, right? Where it's like, oh, it's me, huh? Okay. Let's go.
Pro-Am Payton. He was good. These are the kind of games where I think the things that Payton has really gotten better at over the last year or so really come to the forefront. His ability to score and his ability to make plays for others. And it's not just the lob to Queta either. He really did a good job of getting the ball in his teammates' hands in the spots and places and spaces where they are most effective, as well as getting his shot. I thought this was one of those nights where Payton could have easily gone for 40 or 50 points if he wanted to.
That's what I thought it was headed, right?
Yeah. He was getting dribble drive penetration and basically just started dancing with the basketball, passing up open shot after open shot just to make the King players dance. And he'd either shoot a little floater in the layup, find Queta for a dump ball pass, or kick it out for an open shot. This was really just an absolute just a dominant performance by him in terms of just impacting what's happening offensively.
Yeah. And the shooting numbers are insane here with the efficiency here. Again, I feel like he could have gone whatever he wanted here. As far as the Baylor Scheierman goes, it's not so much that he played well. It's that people don't seem to be sold on it. If you're looking at our comments right now, Sherrod, Scheierman is I
don't trust him with the ball. I think there's one comment.
Don't trust him with the ball. I think he's a bum. I don't know why we drafted him. For some reason, it doesn't. It's not compute. It's not resonating yet, and I think it's just because people want to see it repeated here. Yeah. So go ahead.
I think that's part of it, but I think the bigger part of it, John, is the fact that people, have this idea of who they expect him to be, and that's just not who he has been. They thought he would be this, this shot making, Sam Hauser 2.0, or, Sam Hauser, a Sam Hauser light type player. And what they found is that he's probably a better playmaker. Defensively, he's getting better. I don't think he's as good as Sam, but he's definitely made strides in that area. He's shown a little bit of versatility as a defender, which I think Joe Mazzula alluded to. And he's a guy that you can see is getting appreciably better right before your eyes, but he's not getting better and not doing the things you necessarily, and by you, I mean fans, are wanting him to do and expecting him to do. He's figured out a way to get on the floor. And he's doing it the way that I think if you're going to play for Joe Mazzula, you're going to have to. And you're going to have to play defense. You're going to have to show that you can do some solid things at that end of the floor. And I think he's gotten much better in that regard, and is definitely.
That's what you hear them talk about all the time when they're talking about how he plays here.
But I don't
Joe
think that's
seems to be really impressed with his defense, and positionally, I think he's okay. He's not the most fleet of foot, but he's definitely, seems to be doing enough on the floor defensively to impress Joe Mazzula enough to give him a start. And again, it's interesting to me just in terms of the rotation here. And again, when you go back to Hauser in the starting lineup and you've removed, because we've seen him try everybody. He's tried Hauser, he's tried Minot. When you see him go to Hauser, you've got the offense there. So you'd think, if Jalen is out, who's the best person to step in there? Would you have guessed Walsh or Scheierman in this role?
In this role, I would have probably gone with Scheierman too, just because I think he gives you
I'm not saying it's a bad call. I just don't know why. What goes into Joe's thinking behind it.
No, I think with Scheierman you get a little bit more pop in terms of scoring the ball. And Walsh, the things that Jordan Walsh does well are really the kind of things that typically help teams the most when you're getting it off the bench. He's an energy guy, good rebounder, versatile defender. And remember, he's a guy that you often have on the other teams, one of their better, if not best, wing scorer. And if you got a guy coming off the bench in that role, that means he's going to have a little bit more room to do some things, because he won't be picking up cheap fouls early on because he's not starting. And so it makes a little bit more sense, I think, to go with Scheierman than Jordan Walsh. But at the end of the day, those guys are going to play enough through the first 3 quarters to figure out who is going to be your guy down the stretch. And I think that's the one thing about a lot of these young guys, I think, are embracing the reality that you're not going to be promised minutes, but if you're playing well, more likely than, particularly defensively, you're going to get a chance to be out there for long stretches and potentially finish out the game. So, which is too bad for our guy Anfernee, because he's been really good offensively, and that ain't going to get that doesn't matter down the stretch.
Yeah, I'm not going to go on my Anfernee rant today, because again,
I was totally trying to set you up for that, John. You know that, right?
No. I'm just simply going to say the degree of difficulty on some of his shots were great. I mean, it's really fun to watch. It's not just the quick release threes. And again, he didn't have a great shooting game at all. 6 of 16, 2 of 10 from 3. He did not shoot the ball well. So he wasn't outstanding tonight. But some of the shots he makes, he had that one in the first half where he's just going and kind of, rotates his body, shoots it kind of sideways, almost like a mini sort of hook shot fading away.
Yes, we do a baseline and then went back to the middle.
Yeah. And then, that was great. I brought my daughter in to see that. I'm like, see, like this is how you can torque to get shots off, because she likes to go in straight lines. But then the other one was just he's it's in transition and he crosses over and he goes up against 2 guys and he crosses over to his left and he scoops it right high off the glass. Again, just really, really pretty stuff there. But yeah, this isn't one of those nights where I'm going to sit here and I'm going to clamor for Anfernee Simons minutes, because Pritchard was great. And Jalen was out and they played the wings here. Hugo was really good in his minutes too, just in terms of impact and plus minus. One thing I'm surprised by, Sherrod, is I don't know whether we've just got angry, tired people in the chat. It's a Sacramento game. A little bit of D White hate here in the chat because of his passive play. Yeah. 7 shots for Derrick White in this game. Only 7 shots. I don't mind it because I think he was great. But people apparently do. 3 of 7, makes 1 3, 9 assists. He's a plus 28 in 32 minutes. I had, one Garden Report watcher who, kind of chimes in, and DMs me during the game. He's like, White's amazing. Like White might be our best player. Like, just kind of gushing and glowing over it, but he didn't score a lot. And right. it seems to be tweaking people.
Yeah, well, I think Joe Mazzula has kind of alluded to that in recent weeks about how.
And I don't think he's been getting a pass. I do want to set this record straight. Again, I'm not sitting here. I'm not going to just hump analytics all day long to make points, but he's still playing at an extremely high level despite shooting poorly. All of his metrics are still off the charts, like top 20, top 25 player good, and that's with him shooting like absolute dog. That's how good. That's how much of an impact he makes on a daily basis. I think just people want to see the scoring tick up. So a game when Jalen's out, it's like, maybe he'll start feeling himself. It didn't happen. It's definitely feeling like there's frustration setting in with the fans in white right now.
Yeah, because the goals and the hopes are so much higher than the reality is. And frankly, there are just certain players in the NBA who, on their best day, more times than not, they're going to be your second or third best player. Derrick White is one of those guys. Every now and then he'll be the best player on the floor, but for the most part, he's going to be in your top 3, usually second or third. And I think we just have to, frankly, embrace that as folks who watch this team play and fans as well. Derrick White is a really good player, does a lot of things that you're not going to see show up in the stat book, or you're not going to necessarily see on the highlights after the game. But when you start really looking at what are some of the things that this team does well to help them win games, Derrick White's play is among those things, particularly what he does defensively as a help side defender. I mean, how many is there really a guard in the NBA that feels comfortable going in for a layup if they beat their man off the dribble against the Celtics? And that man was not Derrick White. He's shown time and time again he's a great help side shot blocking guard. And his offense, yes, his offense has not been good this year, but he's still been a solid playmaker. He still does a good job for the most part keeping guys in front of him. He does so many of the things that allows his team to continue winning. He's just not making as many shots. But that's not something that he has shown the ability to take to that next level with consistency. He'll have nights where he just won't miss. But for the most part, he's a 15 to 18, 19 point per game type of player. I think that's just who he is. And I don't think any added amount of playing time is going to have him deviate from those metrics at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I think he's still going to heat up. He's still going to have his fourth quarters, and all that stuff is good. But yeah, people are waiting for more there, and it's funny how the worm turned a little bit on White, because I caught a lot of flack that first year they traded for him. I'm like, I don't get it, he was shooting, in the 20s, he was really broken there, and he hadn't fully settled in where you were seeing the full extent of his impact. Obviously, he was a good defender, but not to the level that he was in subsequent years, just in terms of impact, in the blocks and the impact plays. But he was so smart, and he was doing a lot of the right things. He just wasn't impacting the game enough to, and I was like, what's he do? He's just not. And the shooting was so bad. It was so bad. And now I feel like everyone else. Now I feel like I'm defending it.
The weird thing, John, for me is that I would kind of understand the disappointment and the frustration and the not being happy with Derrick White if this team were like 7 games below 500. They were a solid playing team, and you're trying to figure out why can't this team get it together, and then you could point to that and say, well, this is why they're not getting it together, but. They're tied for second in the Eastern Conference without Tatum and with Jaylen Brown getting rest every now and then. And really, Derrick White has not had this breakout season. He's been solid, but he hasn't had a breakout season. And yet there you are, one of the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference. And that still doesn't seem to be enough. I don't get it. It's almost as if they're thinking that because of Derrick White's play, they're number 3 in spite of what Derrick White is doing. And it's just like, that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening at all.
No, not at all. Bobby Manning in the locker room right now. He's going to join us along with Noah in just a little bit as we kind of continue to talk about this amazing game between the Celtics and the Kings.
He said that that's pretty damn good.
It's really amazing.
It's talented team. Talented team from Sacramento.
Super fun thing. And again, maybe I have got the Super Bowl on the brain. Maybe I've got, what I don't have the Super Bowl on the brain. I've got Super Bowl logistics on the brain right now. I'm sitting here getting emails from the league media credential help about radio roast spots and assignments and Wi-Fi and on-field live shot locations. And I'm running around, and my entire crew that I'm taking out there has worse ADHD than I do, and I'm supposed to manage them. I don't know how this is going to go, Sherrod. Got a little bit of anxiety, but we'll see. But in the meantime, we do want to tell you guys about it. And again, this is your last opportunity here for those who enjoy, making these types of picks. The daily fantasy here, it's a big game. It's your last chance to get in on the action on football here. Close out the season right. With Prizepicks, you get $50 instantly in your lineups. When you play your first $5 lineup, you download the app and you use that code CLNS. That's all you have to do. And you're off and running. And again, check it out. As we said, is you like football, this is your last shot, and it's a lot of fun. 2 to 6 player stat projections. I'm guessing a lot of people who like to play will be making all of those just for the big game itself, but you don't have to do that. You can mix and match really any sports, anytime. 2 to 6 player stat projections, win up to 2,000 times your cash. Feature alert here. Prizepicks, you get early payouts. If you've got players off to a hot start, you have the option to cash out the winnings before that game even finishes. You get injury reboots. Somebody gets hurt in the first half, so you're well protected there. Super easy to use app for those who haven't tried it. Check it out. And again, if you're into this and you like you like making these picks, and using a picks app, the Prizepicks app, this is the best place to do it. So you download it. CLNS is the code, 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, code CLNS, get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, it is good to be right. And I don't know what I'm feeling about this game. I'm not going to divert this completely I'm not diverting it completely into a football show. The Drake May stuff worries me a little bit, just a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
Just a little bit.
I mean, yeah, as it should. I mean, he's just too vital, too important to what this team's been able to do all season long. And for him to just pop up on the injury report and not practice, I mean, it's scary.
Now, I get it does sound like a flex, but it's not. I've been doing this for 30 years. Trust me, it's not that impressive to get an email from the league.
No,
we all get them.
In fact, yeah, it's no.
I've been doing this for 30 years. It's actually spam. Mainly.
What times are not? Yeah,
it's mainly spam. We all
you
get
are
them.
One of the 7,000.
It doesn't mean you're important.
Automatic emails that they send out.
It doesn't mean you're important, but in this case, I have to read them because I am freaking out a little bit because I don't want to leave anything at home for there. But yeah, I'm a little bit worried. I'm a little bit worried here about the situation. Talk about Queta. I think we were talking about him to start the show. Joe mentioned him earlier, Sherrod. Queta is an interesting case, and I think you see it with a lot of people, right? Baylor's another one. If you think back how the season started, Baylor was all the way at the end of the bench in DNP-CD land. So he's done a lot to get himself into Joe's circle of trust. It says a lot about his development. After a week or so, 10 days, 2 weeks, him and Walsh, we'd ruled them out, right? Like, oh God, yeah. Joe doesn't trust him at all. Queta's another one where he played him out of necessity, but I don't think he necessarily wanted to. I think now he truly, fully appreciates what Neemias Queta brings. We were trading stats earlier around halftime, and I'm not sure when it finished, how it finished up, but it was something along the lines of that the Queta had not the Kings took 0 shots at the rim. That's what the number was. Kings took 0 shots at the rim with Queta on the floor in the first half. We talk about best players, and then you talk about players who are most important, and it's not always the same thing. I made the argument last year about Derrick White arguably being, the Celtics' most important non-Tatum player, because you could see the drop and the difference when he was off the floor. Everything would get weird, right? The measure of control that he would bring, just being able to do things, to move people, to move that ball really quick on offense, the team defense and everything he was able to do, he was invaluable, and you could really see a drop in their play. The drop in play when Queta's not on the floor right now, he's becoming that guy for this team. And again, the value over replacement, not only value over replacement because Garza I think has been excellent, but Garza can't do what he does. Right. Queta's the only guy who can do what he does. And before we get into that, we're going to hear from the star of the game tonight. Payton Pritchard's up at the podium. We'll get back to Queta in just a minute.
10-foot range a lot, and it allows me to sometimes draw too. And for him, it's finding little windows for the lob or even little dump off so he can go up. So we still got to get better and better at it, but we've taken a lot of big steps, and it allows us to get easy buckets.
Is it getting to a point where you can almost throw it to a spot and trust that he's going to be there?
Getting close to that point.
Payton, just what was working for you in that first half? I think it was 22 points.
I feel like I just did a good job of making the right reads. Getting to my spots, reading the driving lanes. I thought I made a good passing read. So almost like a QB, you're always just making the right read, take what the defense gives you. So I thought I did that at a high level tonight in the first half.
Payton, going back to the pick and roll with Nemi a little bit, are there any cues in particular, like having worked with him, that you see from him that you can just kind of tell now, like, oh, okay, he's going to do this because I saw him do this?
Well, I really like Nemi's, he has a good floater from the 10-foot range too. So especially if I drive lower, he's, telling him to relocate to the top, kind of where the charge circle is, and being able to hit that. And if his big man steps up and I'm in 10-foot range, finding a gap to catch a lob or a window to just make a quick dump. So, that's through a lot of work and a lot of games together, reading that, especially him knowing what spots I like to get to and then playing off that.
this is his first year getting like big time minutes for you guys. Obviously he's the starter, but were these things you worked on in past years since he's been here? Like how commonly did you work on these types of reads, or was this more like, oh, this summer, let's really dive into it?
No, we definitely worked at it time to time. A lot of it is he's working with the coaches. I think he's done a tremendous job. He's taken a drastic step forward in learning where to be, the right places. And I think there's still a lot of growth left in him. Like, he's just scratching the surface.
Hey, how different is it with Jay? You guys are 3-1 without Jalen. What's it different when he's not out there in terms of like the responsibility from the other guys?
I never really look at it like that. Like, for us, it's just making the right play, play the right way, play fast. That's all it is. Like, when he's on the floor, we know what kind of player he is. He can take over games. He can go at anybody one-on-one. But when he's not out there, for all of us, it's just like running the play with pace, set good screens, and read the coverages and make the right play.
It seemed like you were kind of the peacemaker between Russ and Boucher. Can you kind of what happened there?
They're just upset for shooting the last shot. So, yeah.
You've had a bunch of these kinds of games this season where it feels like you've almost like figured out the game offensively and you can get to any spot you want to. That's what it looks like, at least. What does that feeling feel like? And is it more about the way you're being defended on a given night, or is it more like you just woke up today and you just had it? Like, when do you feel in a game like, okay, I can get to my spot, I can get to the rim, it doesn't matter if I'm getting doubled, I can make the right read? Not even necessarily 3-point shooting, but more that type of thing.
Yeah, I feel like it's like I said, I'm still learning myself, growing each game. There are certain games where the flow is and I'm making the right read over and over again. I thought tonight, like I said, I made the right reads, scoring and passing. So for me, it's just figuring out how can I make that an every night thing, and that's what I'm worried about.
And when nights when you don't feel like you have that, is it you're just thinking too much, or like what do you find is the cause?
I feel like
that?
it's possibly, but also like other people are going more than I am, and I'm playing more maybe off ball, more in the corners and stuff like that, which is totally fine. Like, we have tremendous players, and sometimes it's their nights, and they need the ball. So it's a portion of that, and then possibly overthinking some.
Thanks.
Hey, Payton. Jason Tatum was on a podcast earlier this week, and he talked about the reintegration process and the identity of the team with him coming back. Just curious if you guys have had any conversations about that with his return date coming up soon.
No, we haven't. I know JT's going to do what's best for him, and we definitely want him back because we know what type of player he is, and it definitely put us over the top with him back in the lineup. So, but obviously he's got to feel good and feel 100%. Do
you envision any challenges or difficulty with him coming back? You mentioned that was maybe hesitation.
No, because we played with him before. So it's not like it's some player that got hurt and we never played with before. So we know what he likes and how he plays, and we can play off him.
Last one, Abby.
I feel like we've asked you this a bunch of different ways, and I asked you on the floor, but is the mindset any different when you know that you will have the ball in your hands more and that you are in command?
I like I said, I don't think of it as a mindset shift. I always try to play with an aggression.
Yeah.
I feel like the thing I have probably more control over is just the pace of play and how quickly we can get up and down the floor, and kind of direct traffic a little bit more. So maybe in that sense, I have more control over the game, but the mindset never changes. It's always about being aggressive and being ready for my opportunities when they come.
You mentioned the quarterback. Do you fall back on that from high school? Is it?
Yeah.
Does that come back?
I feel like it's playing football and playing quarterback taught me a lot of aspects of like reading the game and like getting everybody involved. Like, when you're a quarterback, you gotta. My dad was my coach, so he would allow me to call the plays even in 8th grade. And going over it, it's like, how can you make everybody feel part of the game? So your running back needs some touches. Then you got your receivers, which you probably got 4 receivers out there. You can't just target one guy all the time. So how can you spread the love? And then for me, like, that taught me, even in basketball, like, sometimes you could go and score a certain time, but like getting this guy the ball, letting him feel it, get a shot up, and then later in the game, knowing that opportunity might come back to me and I'll have that spot again. Mm-hmm. So stuff like that is just dictating the game.
Thank you.
And that there is Payton Pritchard. He took the lead tonight, Bobby Manning, on the offensive load in a non-Jalen game. He came out smoking. His final numbers were unbelievable just in terms of the efficiency. Celtics in general shot, 85% from two in the first half, 70% from overall. It was just a ridiculous game for them. But Pritchard definitely led the way, set the tone early. I mean, everything kind of got ugly in the second half, but that first half was smoking.
Yeah, and I was just looking up the numbers here, and he is, I don't know if it's factoring in this game yet, but let's just say coming into tonight at the very least, 74th percentile in the league in pick and roll ball handling, 97th percentile in isolation. And not too long ago, I think you got asked a question about it, maybe by Noah. He was the best isolation player, most efficient isolation player in the league by the metric numbers here. So this is the stuff I look at as I judge him and White and their seasons. And obviously much of their seasons have been defined by poor shooting and offensive inconsistency. White tonight, just 7 points. But the story of their season to me, John, 17 assists, 2 turnovers in a game like this with no Jalen, no Tatum, defensive pressure on them. Not that the Kings are some daunting defense here, but they have to take over primary playmaking responsibilities for the length of these games, and they get droves of assists and never turn it over, which has ultimately been the formula for success for this team. And all year long, I've loved Pritchard's poise in the pick and roll. I remember him working on that in some of his first summer leagues. Mazzula was coaching him back then, and it's a big discussion point around his career early on is how can this guy get better as a playmaker? How can he get better as a pick and roll ball handler? And he looks like he's amazing at it at this point. And I think it's been probably one of the more underrated parts of this team's season is how steady he's been as a playmaker. Now, obviously, they need him to shoot closer to this. He's obviously not going to do this every night. But I think by and large, and this is why I've defended him for most of this season over Simons, he's given you sensational playmaking, solid defense, and at times you will get a night that you want to see from Pritchard in terms of the shooting here. But it's great that you can lean on him for excellent playmaking, excellent distribution, and just overall offensive organization at this point. He was in full control tonight from like the opening stretch there, the 11-1 run there with Queta and the pick and roll. It was all him here without Jalen and Jason.
Yeah. Again, I guess the flip side of that, and again, a lot of the stuff we've been getting in the chat, Bobby, is how little Derrick White shot in this game. He still, I thought, played a good game, but were you surprised he didn't put it up more than 7 times?
Yeah, I'm guessing they put the pressure on him. You know, they were probably keying in on him in this game without Jalen, and there were probably outlets across the floor for him to pass into. And you obviously saw Baylor benefit from that one in this, and from that, and Queta and Pritchard certainly too, and a couple threes from Sam. It was overall a pretty widespread effort offensively from them. 18 threes. Like, they were pretty efficient. They were pretty dynamic in moving the ball here in this one. Things tailed off a little bit later in the game, but offense just came easy for them in this one. And you have to think a lot of that was them keying in on certain guys, moving the ball out of that, playing a little faster in this game as well. They were just able to get to their spots pretty easily for a lot of this game and score at will when they needed to. And that second quarter, third quarter stretch where they just go up by, what was the biggest lead in this game? 31. It happened fast. First quarter, still relatively close. And then midway through the second, you're like, all right, this game's over. And no Sabonis, no couple other guys there. Like, it's just a dreadful opponent. And like, it's hard to even fathom how far that franchise has fallen. But you just watch this game tonight and you're like, all right, on a back-to-back, especially, they were in Philly last night, there's just going to be no resistance here. And they went on a couple runs, but I think this is one of the worst defenses in the league. No one seems happy there on the offensive side. And I'm interested to see how they're going to nuke that situation at the deadline. They've obviously
It's
been
honestly, it's
Yeah.
just going to be one of those, you know how like sometimes you have stuff in your house you're trying to get rid of and you're like, do I sell it or do I just send a note
Just
out to
throw
the
it out.
neighborhood, send out a
And
note
hope
to the
someone picks it up.
neighborhood that I leave it on the curb. And if you pick it up, it's yours. Like, that's it. You come get it. It's yours. That might be what they do here. Like, you guys can take all of it. And I think that's how it goes here. So yeah, we're gonna hear from a couple more guys. And Bobby, we're having a Neemias Queta conversation. I want to play some sound from him from the locker room because he has a memory. He remembers, you know, his Sacramento days. And you know, there might have been a little bit of revenge on his mind for sure. Before we get into that, I want to talk to you about Ethos. And again, never an easy topic to talk about, but you get a little bit older, you become the head of a household, you have children, you have to start thinking about things like life insurance. And Ethos makes that thought and those conversations a lot easier to have. Ethos makes getting life insurance super fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds. Apply. The whole application process lasts minutes. You can get same-day coverage. No medical exam needed. You just answer a few simple health questions. Up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies as low as $30 a month. As of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. So if this is something that you have thought about but haven't figured out exactly how you want to go about it, give Ethos a try. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/all32. That's ethos.com/all32. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/all32. Last time I'll tell you, ethos.com/all32. Application times and rates may vary. Bringing it back here. And again, we talked about it a little bit. Neemias Queta, this is where he came from. They threw him on the curb, Bobby. You guys can have him. And Queta has been a godsend here. And we were talking about just listening to Joe watching how Joe uses him, listening to Joe talk about him, and recognizing how important he's become to their success. You shared that stat with us earlier, Bobby. No rim attempts from Sacramento with Queta on the floor in the first half. No one on the team does what he does in that regard, and he's become a really valuable piece of this team. Here's Queta in the locker room after the game.
You were dealing with that illness for a couple of games. How much was that impacting you on the floor? I know you only missed one game for it, but was it bothering you when you were out there?
No. I think I recovered pretty well. Last couple of games, it was a little bit hard to go out there and just trying to help the team. So getting these last couple of days off just to recover and like get back to full strength, I think that was huge for me, and I felt great out there.
Remember the day Sacramento cut you, and what do you feel like that did for your career?
Yeah, man, it changed everything. I think that day I was working out there, and later on they told me I was gonna move on from me in a different direction, and stuff, like you go through it, like you're trying to figure out what's your next step. But I'm really happy that Boston stepped up, and I'm happy where I'm at.
Does it motivate you in any way?
Definitely. Honestly, I feel like
I love
one
that.
of those things I can't control, But of course, I'm not going to be happy about it, and just trying to use it as an extra motivation to go out there and just keep on being the best version of myself. Whether it was the version in Sacramento, the version here, I just want to keep on getting better, and I think that only adds to the fuel.
What was the emotion at that time, and how long did it take you to get over it?
It was pretty fast, Like as soon as I got cut, I just shot it back and stuff, and just trying to get ready. That takes a while usually, so that was the main thing. Just I was occupied by doing that, and by the time I was almost done, Boston already called, so I moved on pretty fairly quickly.
You talked about it a little bit earlier in the season, your chemistry in the pick and roll with Payton. How do you think that's progressed, and what's gone into you guys sort of developing that chemistry?
Yeah, there's ups and downs for sure. For a little bit, we feel like we can get everything we want in the pick and roll, but sometimes things figure us out too. think we can also get better at it. With time, we're just figuring out how to get better for each other. And like I said, Payton is a great handler in the pick and roll, and my job is to make his life easier and make his reads cleaner. So the more I can make his job easier by making the decisions be so much more clear by the way I set the screens or get behind the defense. That's what I'm trying to do out
Are
there.
there any specific cues you look for, like with Payton in particular, okay, I see him do this, I need to get out quicker, or I need to hold it quicker?
Oh,
Like,
sorry, that was Neemi talking about a little bit of revenge against the Kings here. We're bringing in Noah. No, before we jumped in and around a couple of topics, before Pritchard took the podium, we started a Queta conversation. It was interesting to me that they opened up the game starting out with like 2 plays for him, including a lob. That first play was clearly a design, and I really do wonder, and I don't know if anybody asked anybody about it, whether Joe did that on purpose, because there's a little extra motivation for Queta going against the Kings here. It felt like let's get this guy, let's get the big fella going early.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of that, and then also a little bit of like he struggled for a few games dealing with illness. He didn't play the other night, and he's back. He looked like he was feeling a lot better. He seemed like, only looking back, I think he was not feeling his best those few games. So I thought it was a little bit of like, let's get him energized. That was a great start. They've had a couple of slower starts recently, so getting him involved, like he seems to get involved early on pretty often. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a little bit of like King's revenge. And I think you can hear he definitely feels a little motivated.
And I love the answer. The answer was great. Like some people hedge there. They don't give it to you. They don't give you the whole thing. Hey, was there extra motivation playing this team? He goes, yeah, definitely. It's right on his mind. Yeah, and it's really interesting. You think about like the journey of some people. Like you have these kind of like, journeyman players or guys who are. Did I just disappear? Where am I?
You're gone.
There you go.
There you are.
Hi. You have these guys who they kind of just jump around from place to place to place, and you just think about them in terms of like, oh, they're lucky to still be in the league. But those guys are probably thinking like, I'm going to show those last guys who I am when I get to that next place. And it doesn't always work out that way, but it's worked out that way for Queta.
Yeah, and he had such an interesting journey there because it felt like he's a second-round pick. They invested a couple years in him, developing through the G League. He was like a G League Defensive Player of the Year / MVP finalist, I believe, the last full year he was there. And they cut him in September, if I remember correctly, to sign JaVale McGee, who was going into the last year of his career, hadn't done much this previous season. They wanted him for some reason or another. They had obviously went on that playoff run there in Sacramento too and looked like they were building something. So they might have wanted to solidify it with McGee. I don't know what went on there, but when I was in Portugal over the summer with Neemi, I was so curious what happened there because it was just such an odd move at that time. And I remember watching him in a couple summer leagues, and he was a guy who stood out to me out there. So I was intrigued when they signed him, and Celtics obviously scooped him right up on a 2-way. And he said to me out there that like he had just left a practice and got called back after the practice ended. He went home. They called him back to the facility, and that's when they told him that they cut him. They had just signed him to a couple-year deal that wasn't super guaranteed, but he had gotten his first NBA contract not long before that, and then had a deal from Memphis, had a deal from Boston, and he said it was a pretty easy decision to go with the Boston one at that time, which obviously wasn't an NBA one. He had to start that championship season in 2024 on the 2-way, and then I think got signed in April to the full contract here. So it's pretty amazing that's the path that you got your current starting center from. And he's been so good and so consistent this year that you have to think he'll at least be in the mix to start next year, depending on what they do at this deadline and this offseason. So, I mean, it is about as great of a development / scouting / free agency story as they've had in recent years here.
What happens if any of the trade rumors did come through at this point? Like, does anybody I don't think everyone's lumping Zubac and Vucevic together. I don't think it's the same guy. One guy is, impactful and another seems to be kind of, slipping a little bit. But like, does Queta get bumped if they make a trade for a big?
In the case of Zubac, I would think, right?
Right? Like, Noah, do you even
if you're
want to
getting
see
a-
them make a move now, or do you want to just see them give Queta the minutes?
I wouldn't. I mean, I think the extra front court help would be a good thing in general because, first of all, you have two guys that you really trusted in that spot. We thought over the summer maybe Xavier Tillman, maybe Chris Boucher would play, but they haven't really played much. And just as insurance.
Boucher played.
Boucher, he played a few minutes today, but he really has not. They both really not been in the rotation.
That was
So
something.
I think to me, like you probably aren't going to acquire a center that's going to bump Nemi to the bench, but I would think you would acquire another center that can maybe augment what Luka and Nemi are doing. Like I would be surprised
third
if
center,
they got like
maybe
a third center. Yeah, I would be surprised if they got like a blockbuster name.
Go get Luke.
You never know. The one thing I've learned with this team over the last few years is like it's so hard to predict their next move from a trade standpoint that for all I know, they're about to trade for Giannis. Like I have no idea, right? But definitely, I think the most likely outcome is a front court player that's like moves the needle a little, but does not radically transform the way this.
Yeah, the safe money is nothing, or the safe money is a Tillman level player, or the player you thought Tillman
exactly
would have
like a Tillman level player. Yeah, that sort of trade.
Yeah.
And I think there's been a sentiment in Boston and around the league that you don't have to pay a lot of money for centers. And they've done it with 2 minimums as well as a 2-way in Amari Williams this year, which, again, for a top 3 team in the East to get by with that at center, it's unimaginable.
I'll ask you guys about I want to ask you guys quickly, and before we move on to our final topic we've been saving for Noah, but the Amari Williams ride here of emergency flown in to come in and play, to a couple of starts, to basically a near DNP-CD the other day, and then kind of not being used again tonight. I know Queta is back. Yeah, I know Queta is back.
He's not on the team anymore tonight.
Queta's back, is healthy, but he's out now. Do you see him kind of moving his way back in to the way things? No, I mean the other night he was active. He didn't play at all. Now he's gone again. Is this how it's going to go with him? Like, did you think he had done enough to maybe stick here? Like, you have Boucher active and healthy, and Amari kind of takes off here. I thought, third center, sure, why not? I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised it went that quick for him.
Yeah,
my take on Amari is. Oh, so go ahead, Jordan.
No, I was just going to say, I don't think he's done enough because he's made the most of his opportunity, I think, at this point. But he's incredibly raw, and some of the knocks on him coming into the league manifest himself out there. I mean, he's not a great finisher at the rim for a big. And that's one of those things that for a team that relies so much on ball movement and guys making the most of opportunities, particularly the bigs who don't get a lot of shot opportunities, they don't get a lot of plays called for them. He's going to get better with that in time, but he's not there yet. And, as we were talking about Queta earlier, Queta is arguably the most improved player on this team from last year. When you look at where he's at now, going from being your third center to your starting center and doing a solid job more than times than not. He still has those nights where he's not great, but for the most part, he's been very solid in the role that they're asking him to play and expect him to play. Amari, I think is going to be pretty good, but he's just not ready. I just don't think he's ready to be consistently up here with the big boys.
All I was going to say is just, I think it's easy to look at being in Boston as like a good thing. It means he's doing well, and being in Maine as a relegation. But if you look at over the last few years, like it probably is a better thing for him in January of his rookie season to get those reps in Maine. He hit a point where he's, putting up 30-point triple doubles and like really starting to find a groove and looking very different than he did at Summer League even, or in the first couple weeks of the G League season. So I was honestly surprised. Like, you guys know I get excited about G League players. I was surprised that he came down to Boston so quick and had some good moments. But he seems like, he's a late second round pick or a mid second round pick, and the kind of player that I do think would benefit from like playing 35 minutes in a game and playing with Phil Pressey and like the system and playing alongside these other guys and really having like a more feature role than having spot minutes. Honestly, I thought Ugo was going to be up in Maine a little. So like, I'm always in the camp of like, these young guys should just play a ton. Obviously we've seen Ugo has been impactful enough for it. Like, I get why he hasn't gone up to Maine. Like, he's been a consistent part of the rotation, even if it hasn't been like always playing 30 minutes. So no surprise for me that he went back. If anybody goes down, if somebody sprains an ankle or gets sick, I think they'll feel comfortable plugging him back in the way they did last Friday. But that really happened because Queta was maybe not going to play on Friday. And I think if you were down one of those guys, though both of those guys have been dealing with illness, they're both fully healthy now. So that kind of coincides with his return to Portland.
Speaking of rotation player, Baylor Scheierman steps into the Jaylen Brown role. He starts tonight in place of Jaylen. And I will say, Jimmy Toscano, who's not with us tonight, was checking in on the box score, and he's like, "Oh wow, good Baylor game." And he goes and he writes, "I dodged a bullet by not being on the show tonight." So he did. He dodged it. But even though Toscano's not here for it, we'll let Noah take the victory lap. The conversation Noah we were having earlier is, he's clearly like, it's so interesting where he started the year. We were like, oh wow, Joe's never going to play him at all. Beginning of the year, both he and Walsh were relegated to no man's land, not getting a whiff. We saw Walsh come in and then find his way to start 20 games. He's kind of, I wouldn't say lost favor, but lost a little bit of momentum there. Feels like Baylor's kind of taken the lead here a little bit in terms of, Joe's, Joe's guy right now, the guy who's entering his circle of trust here. He gets to start here. He plays well. I don't know how much of it just comes down to him knocking down shots consistently, because it seems like Mazzula's happy with all the other aspects of his game. He talks about him defensively all the time. Like, are you sold yet? I'm not sold on the potential, sold on the, yes, use him regularly all the time. This is a guy we can trust now. He's growing. He'll continue to grow. Or are you still too much inconsistency there?
So my take on Baylor, I think he's been such a fascinating story this year. I know we've talked about it a little, is that even in nights where it's not really a Baylor night or he hasn't been playing a ton, he was the one guy that just doesn't get DNPs. I think he's only gotten 4 DNPs all season. Yeah. He's consistently getting those 12 minutes. And it's because he's actually been effective, even if he's only playing 8 to 10 minutes, which most guys in the NBA are not. And Joe, when I asked Joe about that, that's one, he doesn't always give straight answers about those things, but he said it's because he doesn't lose his confidence. Some guys lose their confidence when they're coming in for 5 minutes. Since Baylor is the most confident player on the court, it looks like half the time.
But I'm thinking back, Noah, you remember he yanks him 10 seconds into a preseason game one time. Then he did it earlier in the year too. So that has not been the case for a long time. There was things he was doing that was driving Joe crazy, and he's completely cleared that up, where he's like, he's a guy that he trusts out there.
I don't have 100% clarity on the stuff that annoys Joe, but I definitely have much better clarity than I did when I started covering this team. But it's a lot of times it's the wrong read, like an erratic drive that leads to a fast break for the opposing team. It's doing the exact thing defensively that they were hammering home on the scout to not do. And I think Baylor is a pretty high IQ player that just is pretty disciplined. I know we joke about it, but there are nights where he has 2 points, 0 rebounds, and 1 assist, where I'm like, okay, he was really good in those 8 minutes, though. He just made the right play. If you went through, and they track this stuff on the Celtics, they track the percent of right plays you make, the right reads. And I think if you go through a lot of nights, he has one of the better scores of those guys. He just has good decision making. And so that's been my take on him. I like his game. I think that he's just a smart player that can do a lot of different things. I think, Bobby, I know you were really excited about him when they first drafted him because of that ability to do a little bit of everything. And I think you've seen that this year. He's shooting 40+% from 3 on the season. There was a lot of doubt about his shot in Summer League. It was very loud at Summer League when he was struggling for 5 games. I haven't heard a lot of stuff about how he's been shooting really well all season because it's been small samples, but it's pretty consistent, And tonight you saw a better stat line that might make probably more people write articles about him tonight. But this is kind of what he's been doing all year. Just, he took 10 shots in this game. He hasn't taken 10 shots many games. And the defensive thing, he wasn't guarding the opposing team's best player ever last year. He was usually guarding the worst player when he was on the court. That's been his role this year. Him, Jordan, and Ugo have kind of competed for that. And so they always have somebody to do it, because if it's not Jordan, it's Baylor. It's not Baylor, it's Ugo. They'll just pick the guy that has that night. But he's in that trio, which is pretty impressive when you think about the athleticism of those 2 other guys.
I said this earlier in the show. He really does. He's oh, sorry. Am I on delay?
I was going to say, I do get concerned about the shooting sometimes, but it is good to see him carve out the other parts of his game that can get him on the floor every night. And that is what has impressed me this year, is that he's on the floor every night. still don't know what his role is going to be ultimately long term. And you see the flashes sometimes, you don't see them quite enough. But I think it is a good sign when a player does find a way to be involved, and stay confident too. And the shooting numbers are good this year overall. Like when you look at them, it's not a ton, it's not a big sample size, but it's impressive to me if you can come in and hit a couple shots over a small stretch. And obviously had more room to operate tonight. It still was efficient. So I've been mildly intrigued by his season. I talked to him in Brooklyn and he said he's satisfied with his season, said he's accomplishing a lot of the goals that he had coming in. So I'm okay with his season. I'm not thrilled with it, but it's been okay.
His shot still throws me. It looks, there's something off about the release where it's like hitchy and heavy at the last second. Like he's he's using all of his strength to get it up there. I don't know what it is. It's just something about that shot throws me off a little bit. Any other leftover thoughts on this game before we wrap it up, guys? It's the Kings. Doesn't have to be. Yeah,
I like his no hitch, the no dip three. Like he's one of the guys in the NBA that are consistently doing it. And so
Hauser's my favorite.
Hauser's doing it. My favorite that started, I think the first guy I ever saw do it was Klay Thompson. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
I think it's so the coolest.
You see
Hauser
more players
catches it
doing
at
it
his
now.
forehead and just goes up. It's like volleyball. It's unbelievable.
It's crazy because for regular people, like I've tried to go on the basketball court and hold the ball here and try to shoot without dipping it, and it's like it's bad. So it's just funny how they make it look very effortless. But yeah, this is, I don't think you read too much into this game, but I will say, like, you got blown out by the Hawks the other night. That hasn't happened often. That was a rarity for this team. And then it's a good way to respond, to build a 15-point lead in the first quarter, then 2 nights later, right? Like it's not incredibly impressive. Like this Kings team's not that good, but it's like that's how you want to respond to those games, right? Like some teams, like the Knicks, started losing games and it was like 5 in a row.
Yeah.
Like it's good to bounce back when you have those kind of nights.
All right. Before we go, we'll let you know, subscribe to the Garden Report on the CLNS Media Network and all our YouTube channels. You can check out the audio too if you missed the full show. You got Boston. That's coming up tomorrow. Noah's going to give her take on tonight's game. And of course, you want to check out Bobby Manning and Celtics Daily as well. Bobby's trying to find different people to talk about different angles, from outside of the Boston market about the Boston Celtics and the issues going around with the team. And somewhere in here, I've got it. Bang! Big 3 right there. Right there. Subscribe to the Big 3 podcast. Sherrod Blakely, Kwani Lunis, and Gary Washburn. Of course, Celtics win this one tonight. Thank you guys again for watching. I'm off. I'll be off. You won't see me on any Garden Reports for a little bit. I'm sorry.
John's out of here.
I'm out. I'll be off for about a week or so. But, the rest of the gang, it's an interesting week coming up. You got Milwaukee, and then you got 4 games next week. So it'll be pretty busy, a lot of stuff going on. So make sure that you keep it here for the Garden Report. Follow Bobby on CLNS Media for his written stuff, Noa Dalzell on SB Nation. That's all we've got for you guys tonight. Because, again, it's a short show, but it's the Kings. It's the Kings. It's nothing we can do. So we will talk to you guys. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Take care.